Welcome to a recording of Zensuon Crystal Age, chapter Break City, We Hardly Knew Thee, where our duo finds themselves chased by an impossible situation that just won't give up. Buildings collapse around them from the earthquake, dust like a plume surrounding the lower parts of the city, and the bizarre silhouettes of darkness blocking out the sun. Mika got up to his feet again and glanced around. I must be dreaming, right? Didn't we just get to safety? Am I imagining things from the sewer fumes? Mika put a hand over his closed eyes to quiet his headache and stop the ringing in his ears, like a tide of wail stuck in his head. This was the longest 2 days of his life. Barely any sleep, food, or water, and too much running. Too much! Is it Stilia? Are you laughing at me up there? When I open my eyes, everything will be alright, right? It's probably just a headache from all the fresh air. Too much time down in the sewer, that's it. He felt a cool breeze, and that soothing feeling as less light hit his closed eyes. Ah, better, Mika thought as he opened his eyes, and immediately a heavy dread fell on him. Is that a giant shadow coming toward? The now familiar pull of the orc was felt as Mika was carried like luggage over Naraka's shoulder. The orc fleeing from what Mika could only assume was some kind of encroaching dark cloud or sudden eclipse at this point. Anything was possible. It wasn't until he saw people fleeing in terror around them once they hit the main mercantile street that he realized what he'd been hearing. The ringing in his ears wasn't ringing. It was the screaming of, well, everyone in the city. Something dark is coming. And I wish I meant that figuratively. The rumble of buildings being crushed into rubble far behind them, but not far enough, filled him with fear. So much so that for the first time he did not struggle out of Naraka's carryhold. Instead, he held tighter. He dared not look up at the impending doom. Somewhere in his mind, he knew that if he looked at it, it would become real. He tried to turn his head. Logic, that's what he needed. The problem was, once he peered into his thoughts, the output they gave him was something like this. Holy shit, I'm going to die. Fuck, 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 fuck. What did I do? Daddy, help me. Mommy, please. Or, why me? What did I do to deserve this? I can't die, I can't. I haven't found Dad's killer yet. Fuck, fuck. Both were not very helpful, so he decided to at least focus to see where they're heading, and immediately regretted it. The open plaza they arrived at, which stood by the entry gate to the east of the city, was filled with a massive crowd of people, screaming, running, shoving people. And try as the orc might to force them aside, he was nothing against the tides of a panic mob trying to break through the bottleneck that was the two large gates. Unfortunately, not large enough for an entire district full of people at once. Where can we go from here? Mika considered as he glanced right, then left, trying to ignore the overwhelming screams of the people behind him, being smashed under buildings in blackness. No good. The natural defenses that our break city cleaves from the north and south of the gates also mean that escaping out of the city is a problem. I guess they didn't expect an attack from within the city. They probably expected the worst to hit them from the inside would be fire, and they were literally next to a major water source. So you can't fault them for not considering an attack by a massive creature of holy shit! What am I going? Calm down, Mika. Calm down. Mika rubbed the side of his temple, each hand to either side. He needs to disconnect. Time is unimportant. Going through the mob is impossible anytime close. Going under may have to have gone as far as the sewers will allow, and the creature made it clear it cares not for the ground by the sound of buildings being smashed to nothingness behind him. Above? How are we going to fly? Wait, Mika's eyes opened. Why are we trying to get out? The creature could be aiming for the crowd. We need to go sideways to the large cliffside where it's safer and with less people, and we'll be fine. The creature is the size of 10 buildings. At least, we're like ants to it. It won't notice us if we go at it alone. Mika leaned down and tapped Mraka's shoulder, pointing him to an alley on the right. Yor grunted and pushed his way out of the crowd and started leading them towards the protected cliffs. Alright, now it should be fine, Mika thought, grinning, as he turned his head back to finally get a good look at the massive being. It was enormous, so much so that it blotted out the sun. Terra's rays still shone around it, somehow giving it this grand, unreal aura. It had this bipedal shape, 2 legs, 2 arms. If anything, Mika would say it looked like an orc with how broad its shape was. It had claws instead of hands, also like some orcs, and it looked like it had a crown of horns on its head. Not orcish as far as he knew. It was hard to make out. One thing clear were its eyes. Each must have been the size of a person, but on the gigantic thing they looked like small and white. No irises at all. But all this was pronounced by the most significant of facts that this creature or thing was dark. And not just blackened in flesh either. It was like darkness poured out of it, snaking across its skin as if around the charred flesh of someone burned. But consumed by what? Fire? This shadowy being brought twilight to Break City. And its claw, so big each time it raked across the street, it was brushing buildings aside into pebbles, reaching now to... Why is it coming our way? Mika's eyes followed the way the creature took. It departed from the screaming crowd, and its eyes never stopped focusing on him and Uraka. No, it can't be. Must be a coincidence. What would the giant No, Mika concluded. No. He surmised again. The shadow that engulfed the dragonkin earlier didn't just look like a giant claw. It was a giant claw. It hit Mika. All of those deaths, the endless screams like a murmur in the background, the destruction, and most importantly, his impending death. It was all his fault. No, it was all this thing's fault. He glanced at the pair of Baetylus over the orc's shoulder, right next to him. He didn't want to die. He leaped to the other side of the greenskin bag and started to pull on the cloth that held the purple crystals. When Uraka noticed that, he started immediately struggling to grab the elusive halfling dancing on his back. I'm not going to die over a rock, Mika exclaimed. Uraka objected. In their infighting, they barely noticed the inner shine of the crystals grow, and barely heard the black and white furred cat hissing at them from a few meters away. They stopped fighting, realizing Uraka was no longer wanting for a while now, having stood in place trying to hold the crystals relinquishing. The massive darkness was almost atop of them. Mika always wondered what his last thoughts would be. Fuck! That'll be it, Mika considered for the last time, seeing only black. Then a streak of white in his vision. Is this the infamous light we see when he died? There came another streak of light, and another. 5 in total, each in a multicolored mixed haze spun across the sky. They struck the shadow and cast a silhouette on what was happening. Someone was fighting the darkness, and the eyes in the darkness diverted from him and Uraka. Run outside, Mika said, pointing toward the exit, and without thinking, Uraka ran back to the main gate. In the midst of this aerial battle, up above them, the duo escaped.